Get ready
for the most electrifying podcast,
Gente Talk. Hosted by husband and wife duo
Jorge La Voz
and Dr. Lonnie.
With over 8 billion people on this planet,
we aim to capture the stories changing the world,
experience intriguing pláticas,
laughter,
and interactive challenges that will captivate everyone,
including your abuelita.
Stay tuned, gente.
This is going to be a ride you won't want to miss. Welcome, everybody, to Gente Talk Show. I'm Dr. Lonnie.
And I am Jorge La Voz.
And we're excited because we're bringing you a special episode of Soul Talks, or as we say in Spanish,
Plática del Alma.
I like that. I really like that. We're going to be focusing on social media and talking about what did these two things have in common, social media and soul talk. Well, we're going to explore that together.
Exactly. Una de las cosas que hemos aprendido es que las redes sociales or social media, they can be your friend or your best friend, and they can also be your worst enemigo. And that's what we want to talk about today. We're going to talk about the different things in social media, how it started, right? And how some people use it for good. And, you know, how also it can be used for great information. Y a la misma vez, cómo la gente puede abusar de eso. The one thing that I am really excited to talk about too is how social media has become such a big thing in terms of likes. Right? Cuando hacemos los posts, queremos ver que la gente nos dé los likes, o lo que sea, y si no nos dan likes, pues la gente se deprime. Hay gente que se deprime, they get depressed.
They do.
Right? And we're going to explore a lot of different topics. Vamos a hablar del cyberbullying y cosas también que en TikTok, si son de verdad o no. Just a lot of great things.
All the different platforms out there.
Everything.
And kind of this thing, we have this saying, right? Friend or frenemy. So
Exactly.
Social media, a friend or a frenemy. We're going to be exploring that today.
And for those of you that probably don't know MySpace, we're going to be talking about that too. Do you remember MySpace?
I vaguely do. That's a little bit of an older tool than my age.
Yeah,
but
that's what kind of started the whole thing, MySpace, and it's very interesting. So we're going to get into that. And we're excited. You know, we have, we launched our podcast. This is our third month.
It is.
And we want to thank all of you for following us. We're over 4,200 followers on Instagram. And ironically, we're talking about followers, right? But it's exciting to know that there's a lot of you that have taken us into your homes, into your hearts. And we really appreciate you for doing that.
We do. Gracias. Thank you so much. And not only that, when we talk about social media, we want folks to understand, I think there's a lot of views, a lot of positionalities. Do I use it? Do I not? Which ones do I use? So we're going to go through all of them and talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah. And at the same time, we want to hear from you. So if you have any type of experiences, comment below or reach out to us and send us a message and let us know some of your experiences on the good and the bad as well. Welcome to Excellence Real Estate, where every corner holds the promise of home. At Excellence Real Estate, they're not just selling houses, they're opening doors to your future. From cozy starter homes to spacious family retreats, they can help you find your new home. Let Excellence lead you home. Contact them today, because when it comes to finding your perfect fit, excellence is the only option.
Well, I think one of the great things about social media is global connectivity. And it's just a great tool to bring a lot of people from all over the world into one platform, or depending, right, on the social media, that you use. I know for me, my dad's side of the family, they're really there's a lot of people and we're technically all over the world. And one of the ways in which we stay connected is actually through Facebook. I created, decade ago, a family group page. It's private, but we have people from all over the world that connect in there. We share photos, we share stories, we get to see how people are doing, and it's just amazing. At least for me, I really love going to that family group page and just seeing life, people, relationships, and I just love that. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about social media, at least in the case of Facebook, this global connectivity concept. Yeah,
I mean, we've found a lot of family members, a lot of friends, a lot of people that we haven't talked to in years, and that's what it's been good. I remember when I first started getting into the social media, I'm like, oh my God, I haven't talked to my friend David from high school since we graduated. It's been over 30 years, but now we're talking all thanks to Facebook or social media. So it has its positive. Cuando hay personas que no hemos hablado en años y personas que quizás han desaparecido, las encontramos, aunque vivan en otra ciudad, en otro estado. So tienes mucha razón.
En el Face.
En el Face.
El Facebook.
Yeah, la cara del libro. Pero at the same time, it's been really good when it comes to, social media has been a great platform for social movements, right? For hashtags, like for example, Black Lives Matter. When that came out, it was just a worldwide thing. The hashtags that were invented that look like the little hash, right? Like a hash brown hashtag. But the Black Lives Matter and the Me Too movement, when those things came out,
that's right.
I mean, it just became this whole global conversation that led to real change.
As well as Standing Rock.
Yep.
I know in Standing Rock, there was a huge movement around that, and so many people were able to connect, right, and come together for social justice causes. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned MySpace. I know I didn't have that, but did you have a MySpace page?
I did.
So what was that? And the millennials are probably like, what is MySpace?
Well, there's this big guy, this famous guy named Tom, who invented MySpace. He's now a multi-millionaire because he sold it.
And this was when? More or less what year was MySpace?
I think MySpace came out in 2000. I think I went on there in 2005, something like that. But it was kind of like the first step in connecting with people. And I remember I reconnected with a lot of people back then. It was very similar, but it was just sharing pictures and sharing conversation. That's all it really was. And then it just kind of changed from there.
Wow. And I know for Facebook, right? That's kind of like the next trend. Facebook was something that started with Harvard Student Directory, right, back in like 2004. And then after moving from universities and on, then it became public, became this really big dominant platform, sharing stories, updates, all those kinds of things. So I think I was one of the last people to kind of get on Facebook, or at least I feel that I was. No, I think I was. I mean, there's even this whole thing about likes, right? That was the first time I was like, what are these likes concepts?
Right.
And, I even have like a tia that she's like, I don't just give my likes to anybody. You got to earn my likes. You got to earn it.
Work it, make it, do it, makes us harder, better, faster, stronger. More than power, never. Ever after work is over. Harder, better, faster, stronger. Work it harder, make it better, do it faster, makes us stronger. More than ever. Hour after hour, work is never over. Work it harder, make it better, do it faster, makes us stronger. More than ever. Hour after hour, work is never over.
Now we're talking about the good stuff, but let's talk about some of the dark side
Yes.
of social media.
Yes.
And we've all seen and heard different things about the dark side of social media, from scandals to cheating to, fake news, to cyberbullying and things like that. But let me give an example, just a recent example with this, the P. Diddy case. I remember seeing on TikTok this picture of, J-Lo and P. Diddy, where it seemed real, but then when you actually look at it, it looks photoshopped. And I think I shared the picture with you, and I'm thinking, does this look real to you? Because it did look real from far, but then when you close up on it, it just seems like they photoshopped it. So that's what I'm talking about. You get all these fake things just for people to get likes, right?
Or clickbait.
Clickbait, exactly.
Right.
That's what it's for. And you know what? I always see on Instagram some guys saying that you can make millions of dollars by not putting your face and creating videos from using celebrities or any scandal news that's on right now in order for you to make money.
So is this kind of like misinformation, or is this more kind of like that clickbait? Like it's just to get their ratings up. They'll put like a picture that kind of looks sensationalized, and then the person's like, what is that? And then they kind of click. Because actually, you showed me that picture.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's Photoshop. You could just tell it was the body. They just put like the head and, the body is somebody else. It's very clear.
Yeah, because again, I think at this point, what social media is about, and again, you can comment if I'm incorrect, but social media is about, getting a lot of views, a lot of likes, in that sense. So people are creating these different accounts or creating these fake news, especially just to get these likes. And the more likes you get, or the more followers you get paid. So that's kind of, I think, the shady stuff in my opinion.
Well, I think there's an even bigger one, which is,
What's
for
that?
me, it's privacy concerns. I mean, I don't think people realize how much data they're actually really sharing. And then all these companies behind the scenes are like, yeah, keep sharing. And they get access to it and they learn about people's methods. I don't know if you've had these experiences. I know it's happened to me where, like, maybe if I'm shopping on Amazon or something, right, or whichever business, and I look at something, and all of a sudden, if I go on Instagram, that same thing that I was looking at, right, that I was thinking about
Or what
buying,
you talked
it just
about.
pops up, right? Or talking about something,
Right.
and then all of a sudden it like shows up in your feed, and you're like, how do they know, right?
Right.
That's what we're talking
Right.
about, this sort of privacy and data sharing. I think that is very, very important, and I think we need to be cautious about what we post and what we're looking at, because everything that we click on, everything that we look at, right, everything that we say or conversations, right, somehow something's listening and it just knows, and it starts calculating and personalizing about us.
Yeah, it's all business now, marketing, and that's what it is. And it reminds me of that book 1984,
Ooh.
which it's a great book, by the way, if you want to go out there and get it, predicting what was going to happen in 1984, and this whole quote unquote Big Brother is watching, right?
Big Brother, that's
And
right.
at the time when we were reading the book, you're like, wow, that's insane to have these cameras inside this house looking at you. But this is what it is now, right? It's like that eagle eye.
It is, and
with
it was
social media.
written quite a while ago.
It was written, I think, after World War II. So I would recommend that book. Go out and read it, and you're gonna be astonished and surprised as to some of the things that came true. Then you come to find out that some of these people are scams, that they're fakes, that all they did was rent a car, they rented a boat, they just rented things in order for them to appear that they were successful.
So it's almost like people are faking their success.
Yes, of course.
Right, like I'm traveling and I'm living large.
And I'm living the life. But the question is, why would somebody do that? Why would somebody fake to be successful? I mean, that's the thing that we want to talk about, the mental issue. So that's someone that has low self-esteem. Somebody that has to appear to others that they're living the life, that they're rich, that they're successful, and all that. It comes down to a self-esteem issue.
I was actually going to say addiction, is I think social media can be very, very addicting in the sense of, like, the way you're scrolling, you could be like, looking at it at a certain time of day. I know that I had colegas back when I was doing the PhD where I would even ask them, hey, are any of you on Facebook, just as a way of connecting? Like, oh no, I'm not on that. That's just a distraction. That's just taking away my time. So I'm not on any of that stuff. Some people are like, Facebook is just for chismosos, right?
No, it is. It is.
Los mirones, the
It
ones that
can
just
be.
watch and they see your stories, but they never like anything. They never comment, but they're just watching all the time.
Stalkers is what we call them.
Well,
Social stalkers.
We try to be nice, though. We call them los mirones.
But that's what it is. Listen, again, it can be good, it can be bad. But here's another thing that really upsets me is that the cyberbullying that's going on. It affects a lot of teenagers because as adults, you pretty much have a good grip on yourself. But when you're a teenager, you're trying to make, you want to fit in, right? And some of these people that don't have a lot of friends, that want to fit in, they are targets of cyberbullying. And unfortunately, some of them have taken their own lives because of the pressure that comes with that. And it's sad to see that, that these kids are out there using social media to make fun of their peers. On the contrary, we live in a society where we need to uplift others, not bring them down. So these kids, have to learn that you got to use social media to uplift and help others.
Well, I think children's access to social media in itself is like huge, because one thing is safety concerns, right? I think children, first of all, how old should we have our children, tweens or teenagers, using it. They think it's fun, but then we have these predators out there that are like looking at them. It's very inappropriate.
And not only that, they
content.
make fake profiles, thinking these pedophiles, they make these profiles where they're young, they're kids, and they capture the attention of whomever it is that they're prey.
I would say, as a parent, you should definitely be vigilant and be very responsible when it comes to your child. I mean, it's your precious baby. You don't want anything to happen to them. So, and not to mention, let's talk about self-esteem, right? And these whole filters and the way in which how it impacts these young folks.
Right. And you take these selfies or pictures. There's all these apps right now, right, where you can crop yourself in or out or make yourself look younger, make yourself look better looking.
Wait, there's an app for that? I didn't know that.
There's apps where they give you six packs, that you can draw yourself a six pack, but
oh my goodness.
That's the type of society we live in.
Yeah.
It's a society where unfortunately looks takes precedence over a lot of things. So social media again can be good, but it's a point where we have to figure out at what point we have to allow our kids, and not only that, allow ourselves to take a break from social media in a good way.
¿Están listos para algo nuevo? Descubre la alegría del baile con Prestige en Steven's Steakhouse. Ya seas principiante, intermedio o avanzado, Miguel y Jennifer te guiarán en cada paso del camino. Ven a bailar, reír y hacer nuevos amigos. Tu aventura comienza aquí. I wanted us to actually take the time to talk about some of the other platforms that are out there. And let's talk about millennials, Instagram, TikTok, right? Because that's kind of like the big thing right now. I know they say Facebook is for a certain age. I don't want to say that in the most ageist kind of way, but certain people, certain demographics access these platforms. And so I know for me, like Instagram, I'm kind of new to using it, but I like it. I like the creativity. I like the way in which it's presenting certain kinds of images. And I also like that you can link Instagram with Facebook, and pretty much what you post on Instagram, it also shows up on Facebook. So it saves you some time and thinking from a business perspective.
Correct. The other thing that is out there, as we all know, is TikTok, right? Who doesn't have a TikTok account nowadays? Actually, TikTok just kind of blew up.
Well, I didn't have a TikTok account. I'm going to be honest and
I didn't
confess
either
it.
until later. I think now the new generation is more focused on the views and the likes that they get.
Well, it's pretty true. I actually have like a quick story about TikTok. I have a cousin, not to blast people, that's why I'm not using names, but I have a cousin who's like, I love TikTok. In fact, I don't Google search anymore. I search shop on TikTok completely and exclusively. And I didn't really know what that was until like I went and I checked it out. I'm like, what is this TikTok? How do you use it? And I mean, it's interesting that younger generations are adapting new platforms for their form of learning.
Of course.
So I don't know if that's a good thing to do all your searching on TikTok, right? Because you're kind of limited in information. And I would say, go through it with a little bit of a critical eye. But I mean, it's just interesting, right?
Yeah.
That we have millennials that use TikTok searches.
Well, I think one of the reasons that, they use it is because TikTok provides what's called instant gratifications, what I think. They seek that like and comment right away just to validate, whatever they're posting. It's like they depend on it. So, influencer, what do you think an influencer is?
Well, when I first learned about an influencer, it was actually through, films, and I see people with their phones and they're doing selfies and they're, at an event, and, it's all about, I got to post this because I need to get ratings and likes. And And it actually reminds me, I don't know if you've seen this film, but when we talk about like digital identity, I saw this really great episode in Black Mirror.
Okay.
It was with Bryce Howard, and it was called Nosedive. And that is, if you haven't seen it, you need to take a look at it. It's very eerie and harrowing in the sense that like it's all about social status. Everybody in their work and their life is based on giving each other likes. And depending on how many likes you get determines your social status, where you live, what you can access, the people that you're next to. It was so scary. And of course it gets like contorted. But the point of what I'm saying is when I saw it, I was like, we are like a hair away, like through social media, we're a hair away from that. And I was like, I hope we don't get to that point where we're dependent on each other's likes and comments to be able to access certain things. I mean, it was just you just have to see it to really understand what I'm talking about. But digital identity, right? I think that is very key. When I think about like influencers, they're creating a digital identity.
Well, the influencer is, promoting themselves because they've already established themselves as an ambassador of a product or product placement, which is kind of marketing. So in a sense of marketing, I think it's good. But you're right. When you're too dependent on just likes and views just for personal satisfaction, that's when it becomes a problem. So you have to kind of balance it out. And yes, you are right. Sometimes employers will look at your social media before hiring you.
That's
true. Just to see,
or to keep tabs on you too.
Keep tabs on you, yeah.
Where were you at the other day? Who are you drinking with?
Wait a minute, you called in sick and we saw you at the Dodger game.
That's right.
It's happened. But we're quick to judge now on social media. Everything that you do now is, what is your social media like? If you have a lot of followers, you must be a great person. Everything is determined. Should that be the case? Should you judge someone just because, they have 100,000 followers, or somebody that has maybe, 50,000 or maybe even a couple hundred or 500?
Well, I have a little quick story actually, because I have my art line, and that one's on Facebook back in the days when I first got it. But the interesting thing is that like whenever I posted things and it was more for business, I didn't always get a lot of likes. In fact, there was a lot of posts, I got a lot of likes in some, but others, not too many. And I mean, to be honest, I'd get people that would reach out to me despite the likes, and I would get business from them. They'd put in orders, and they didn't have likes on them, but it led to business opportunities that really supported me. So it's not always about the likes, is what I'm trying to say, folks. It's not always about the likes. So
that's right.
I think, when you're talking about, this presence, right, and how authentic you can be, I think maybe sometimes we need to talk about how do we like detox. Strength. It's not just something you find, it's something you build. At Kekoa Strength Training, we don't just lift weights, we lift ourselves. We push past limits. Every rep, every step brings you closer to the strongest version of you. This is where you break barriers, where you find your resilience. At Kekoa Strength, we're not just a gym, we're a community. We rise together stronger every day. Strength starts here. Are you ready?
Well, first of all, you have to be balanced, just like with anything. And you have to set parameters. You have to set limits as well as to the time that you're going to be on social media, the time that you're going to be off social media. There's people that sleep watching social media, which, I've been guilty of it myself, but not anymore. The best thing to do is to detox and not watch any social media before going to sleep. When you wake up, a lot of people, what do? They reach for their phone, and todavía con todas las lagañas ahí, andan viendo el teléfono, like, I didn't even get any likes on this. I didn't get any views on this.
Not me. I keep the phone way far away from my sleeping space, right?
Yeah, I don't look at my phone till maybe 15, 20 minutes after I wake up, which is a good thing. But the thing is, we have to have a break. If we overdo it, I know I've seen people where they're like hours, just literally for hours they've been on there, and they get no work done. So I think a full detox is necessary, and we want to kind of hear from each and every one of you as to what do you think and how you do a detox. We want to hear from you as well.
Right, and also being present. I think now that phones have revolutionized humans, to a certain point, I think, you walk into a restaurant and you see
yes.
like a family there. There's like 4 of them sitting there, not even talking to each other. They're just like this on their phones.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're right.
think, being present is really important and part of that detox. But let's talk a little bit more about some tips of how we can detox when we come back.
Okay.
¿Estás buscando la casa de tu sueño? Bienvenidos a Excellence Bienes Raíces, donde ofrecen un excelente servicio y garantizan el éxito de tu inversión. Permite que Excellence te guíe a la casa de tus sueños, porque cuando se trata de encontrar un hogar perfecto, Excellence es la única opción. So, talking about detox and the way in which we can be a lot more present, I think we need to set up boundaries. We need to talk about the way in which we screen free, from using our phones, and then maybe even turning off notifications as well. I mean, I don't know if you know any other tips of how we can detox.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do have my phone here, but I'm using it obviously for right now because, we have notes and stuff like that. But, let me get back a little bit to one simple thing. When you're at dinner with your family, at home or at a restaurant, take your phone and just don't even take it out, put it away. That's what we do. I mean, when we have dinner, we have dinner, we talk. We're not on social media, we're not doing this and not talking to each other.
It's true.
Maybe if it's important for work, it's different. But yeah, you're right. I see families, the wife and the husband are just across from each other and the kids are on their tablet and there's no one's talking. The food comes and this is what happens. They're just looking at their phone and they're just eating without talking to each other.
So can we quit social media or not really?
You don't have to quit social media. You just have to find that balance. Remember, everything in moderation.
Right. Well, I think for me, one tip that, at least for what I do, is I try to follow accounts that inspire me, that uplift me. Like, I don't put a bunch of gunk in my feed. I want to follow people that, make me inspired, to want to start the day, and, they're dancing, right? They're doing all these kinds of things that helps me. That's a source of positivity. I unfollow people that drain my energy. I don't even do it.
I unfollow people who I know are full of BS.
Oh.
I do. That's what you need to do. There's a lot of people out there that just talk a lot of BS on social media, and I'm not going to name any names, and they have hundreds of thousands of followers. And I've known some of these people personally. Like, I've met them, I've talked to them, and it's all BS. You get to an age where you're like, come on, there's no way that you can be feeding people stuff like this and people are actually taking this into consideration.
And also, you choose how you want to use your social media. I mean, it's your right as well, right? Which ones you want to, like, I've never used Twitter. I don't even know what that is, right? To be honest, but I never really understood the concept of it. It was just kind of something you put out. Yep. But for me, I just use certain tools, and I kind of stick more to Facebook and Instagram. That's just me, because I feel like I can connect with my colleagues and my students, and, I get to see my family as well. And it's just a great tool for me to connect that way.
Yeah. And if you're, creating a business, if you have a quality that you want to share with the world, or a skill,
your art, your music,
share it.
Portfolio work.
This is where social media, comes in handy, right? And we have a lot of friends and a lot of people that we follow, and that they do great things, right? And again, stay away from any stressful people, any gossip. Gossip is okay. News is okay. Again, we all
Gossip's not okay.
Well, look, we live we live in a world where we have to know what's going on. Like this whole P. Diddy thing, it's there. But we can't let it consume us. We can't. I don't let, that news just drain me for the whole day, and I'm not on there the whole day. I'll listen to 1 or 2 bits, and then that's it.
Well, we hope you really enjoyed our conversation about social media. We're also curious about what you think, some tips and tricks that what you do. And speaking of social media,
ironically, right? We were saying that people are looking at followers and views. Have you followed us, by the way?
Have you?
Follow us on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We are on TikTok. We're on Spotify. We are on YouTube, so you can actually see our podcasts and subscribe. And we're also on Apple Music as well.
Right. And all of this is because, at least, Jorge La Voz and myself, We want to help you folks and ourselves be on this journey of becoming our greatest versions, one plática at a time. And so thank you so much for taking the time to connect with us today. I'm Dr. Lani.
And I'm Jorge La Voz.
Hasta la próxima.
See you next time. Be sure to follow us and subscribe.
This is going to be a ride you won't want to miss.